I quit game development. Yes guys, this title is not clickbait, but let me explain. A few months ago, I uploaded these videos on my other channel where I talk about the projects that I want to do and also about other topics that I like. And I was explaining what was my plan to do game development again. This indeed was not my first time trying to do game development, since a few years ago with a friend we managed to develop and release our game called Axel Quest that was for mobile, and in that case was a shooting games platformer game, and it was really fun to make, but in the end didn't have much success. And then we started working on other projects that were not related to game development, and basically my journey in game development stopped there, even though I always had the intent to come back to it. And finally the time came this year where I started to do some tutorials, and finally in June I decided to commit in doing game development and uploaded some videos explaining what was my plan, and I wanted to really put my focus on it as a part-time project. Coming from an experience of developing a 2D game, I decided that maybe it was better to start again with 2Ds, even though I didn't want to do pixel art again, but I wanted to focus on other type of 2D graphics. And this was probably the first mistake that I did, because I'm not an artist, I was a coder. In the other game, most of the graphics were done by my friend. Therefore, I was the one more in charge of level design, coding, the abilities of the characters. So my focus was more on my strengths that are coding, since I'm a software engineer by trade. And therefore, starting again, doing graphics, doing art that I'm not capable of, really was the first mistake, since it took me so long just to get started and then getting frustrated. And this led me to waste a lot of time trying to get good at art while not getting any result and not doing what I was supposed to do, that was making games. Because I was not opening Unity, I was not learning how to make games, but I was just trying to improve a bit of my, let's say, art skills, but without having good results. So even though I thought that choosing 2D that I already had a bit of practice with it, and not having to deal with the complexity of a 3D environment where there is another dimension to consider, doing 3D arts is even more time consuming and more difficult, because you don't just focus on the drawing skills, but also you need to think about the modeling, because you're just creating meshes, but also you are creating a 3D model of the object. And if you're not good at that, the user can really see it, because it's kind of evident that your skills in 3D modeling are not there. So let's say the second point was that I was getting overwhelmed by the amount of things I needed to learn and things I needed to improve in order to make a game on my own, that I already counted in at first, but probably I underestimated, and I tried to do too many things too quickly. That brought me to not having any result. So even though I finished some of the base tutorials that I wanted to do, I was not finding something that I wanted to focus on and getting good, except for trying to learn art, but I was not progressing on it. The third point was that I was getting into a decision paralysis. Indeed, I was not just doing video games, but I was also trying to build my YouTube channel and also had some web related projects. So I had this amount of things to do, and when it came to deciding what kind of game I wanted to do, what kind of YouTube videos I wanted to do, I was just thinking about what I could do without actually deciding which one to focus on, all my energies in trying to do something. So I arrived at the point in which I was not picking the game, and I was not making new YouTube videos. Another thing that was stopping me from making YouTube videos was that my channel was supposed to be about my learning, about my projects that are not just video games. So I felt like I should not just do video game related videos, because it will shift the focus on my channel on that, and I didn't want to do that. And now we are here, and in this time I decided to try different solutions to try to make it work with all the things that I'm doing, including game development, doing YouTube, and even some web development projects. And in order to do so, I want to come up with a new plan, and I will try to adjust if it doesn't work. I don't want to be like fixed. In the end, the better idea is to do some trial and error. So for now, my focus will be to finish some tutorial that I was doing and trying to do 3D art this time. And that's because over the years, thanks to Humble Bundle mainly, I managed to accumulate a lot of Cinti assets. If you don't know about Cinti, it's basically a company making a lot of game development assets. But thanks to having a huge amount of these assets, I know that I have all the assets that I need to create a full game, including the environment, including some characters. So I have everything I need on the art side to just focus on the mechanics. So using my strength, that is in this case coding and logic, therefore I can focus on trying to complete a game using these assets, and over time trying to learn also the art part and try to make my assets, but without having the rush of having to learn a totally new difficult skills before even getting started. I'm still not sure if I will just try to do small games just to try to learn a specific part of Unity engine, or just to test a new mechanic, or if you're trying to have a big game to talk about in devlogs. This I will try to understand in the next months. But one other strategy that I want to apply, and it is currently right now what I'm doing, is that I created this separate YouTube channel where I want to focus on my game development, so I'm not blocked in thinking what kind of content I want to bring to the channel, because in this channel I only talk about game development, devlogs, and trying to share my experience in relearning how to make games. So if you are in a similar situation as me, frustrated with the amount of things you need to learn, having to learn graphics, having to do so many things, and I hope that what I'm trying to do can be helpful for you, understanding where I got blocked and my strategy to trying to unblock things and trying to make the dream on creating games real. So if you're curious to see how it will work out for me, make sure to do the usual thing, like, subscribe, whatever it is, and see you in the next video.